Hey, welcome back to J&L Adventures. I'm John, and we are in my hobby house. So if you can't tell from what's on the shelf behind me, I'm in my reloading area, and this video we're going to be working on the 284 Winchester. Some of you have reached out inquiring about me doing more videos on the 284, and so I built a 284 Winchester bolt action probably about 3 years ago, and never really did or got the load that I was happy with in that rifle. So in preparation for doing some long range shooting with it, I am back to do more load development, and hopefully we're going to find a round that fits this rifle. So over the next few days, I'm going to be down here working on load development for the 284 Winchester, and I'm going to take you along and show you what that process looks like. Okay, so what are we going to do first? First thing we need to do is we need to go over to the bench, and we need to figure out what our overall length for our cartridge is. And how are we going to do that? Well, I've got my Hornady overall length gauge here, and on the end of this I have a threaded 284 Winchester brass, and I got this from Copper Creek. And so we're going to put a bullet in the end of this, and we're going to put that in the chamber of the rifle, and we're going to get us a overall measurement of where that intersects with the lands. And that's going to give us our overall coal, and then I'm going to back that off probably about 30 thousandths, and that's where we're going to begin our measurements. And so basically once I plug all of this into quick load, we will see what the numbers look like, and that is where we will start building a ladder. And then once we get all of those made up, it'll be time to head to the range and test them out and see what works the best. So let's head over here to the vise and let's get this thing measured. Okay, so we've got our Hornady overall length gauge, and we've got our Copper Creek threaded piece of brass. So basically all that does is that threads on to this, and it threads all the way to the bottom until it stops. Okay, and then we now have our piece of brass here that's going to slide inside of that. Okay, now we're going to take this push rod, and this push rod is going to, I'm going to just put it in there where it's touching the copper, and then I'm going to tighten that down so that way it doesn't get pushed back into the brass. So we're now going to put this in the chamber, and we're going to then take the push rod and push that copper all the way to the very top or inside where it touches. And then that will give us our overall length from tip to bottom. So let's get over there and do that. Okay, so we have to take our bolt out of here. For a bolt action. And we're now going to take our round and insert that all the way in, okay, until the rod stops. It's going to have a hard stop there. Then I'm loosening up the screw back here that holds the push rod. And then all I'm going to do is hold that, and I'm going to push that all the way in, okay, until it is tight, and it won't go any further. Okay, so that now is my overall length. Now you saw that the bullet now stayed in there. So I know it's touching. And so when I take the bullet out and put it back in here, I'm going to take my calipers and take that overall measurement. And that is going to be the max. Well, that's more or less it's touching and jammed in there. So I'm going to back it off about 30 thousandths, you know, from whatever that overall measurement is, and that is what I'm going to plug into quick load. Okay, so that now is where it actually jammed up into the lens, and you can't see it on camera, but when you get the light reflecting on it just right, you can actually see the lines on the copper. So yeah, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get a measurement on this. So you want to have a good caliper, and I don't know if I can get this on the camera real well, but we're going to try. Okay, so we are 3330. So that is our overall length. So 3.330. Okay, now let's go plug that into quick load and let's see what we come up with. Okay, so now that we know that our overall length is 3.330 and that we want, or that I want I want there to be some jump in this cartridge. So I'm going to back it off 30 thousandths. So our overall length will be 3.30. And so I've got that plugged in here where it says cartridge length 3.300 is what I've got plugged in. And I've already picked the peel, which is a Burger 184. This is the F-Open class. And so quick load already has all that data in there. So I've plugged all of that in, and I'm looking at trying out the Winchester 760 powder. And right now I am just seeing what powder grains will, am I pushing a pressure sign. So I'm going to go ahead and put in 48 grains. And when I apply that calculation, if you can see, and I don't know how well it's showing up on camera, but I am bumping up into warning pressures that based on the software data and my rifle. So my ladder is probably going to start around 45 grains, and then we will bump every 2/10 of a grain for the next ladder, and we're going to bump that. We're going to probably do that all the way up to around 48, maybe 47 and a half grains, and kind of see if we're seeing any signs of pressure as we get closer to that. And at that point, we're going to see which one is grouping the best, and we're going to hopefully find us a good node in that mix, and from there we'll fine tune it, and we'll go, you know, 1/10 of a grain on either side of that node and see if we come up to a good spot. So that's going to hopefully help me find, you know, something usable in there. Right now, based on 45 grains, we're looking at a muzzle velocity of around 2560. That's really not what I was hoping for. I was really hoping I was going to get more out of this, but we'll see. You know, if we bump it up and go up to say 47 and a half, if we can get there without any pressure signs, we'll be upwards of about 2677. So still not great. I would really like to be around 2800. So we're just going to have to try this out and see where we actually end up. Okay, so I went back and I remeasured everything on the rifle, just verifying barrel length, verifying, you know, the case length that I'm going to be using, you know, the bullet length, just making sure all of my numbers in quick load were accurate. I did make a couple of adjustments on that, and it kind of hurt the numbers a little bit, but with the Winchester 760, I'm still going to be pushing, by what quick load says, I'm going to be pushing about 2,600 feet at the muzzle. I'm going to have to plug that into my other long range app and just kind of see where everything ends up at. Because my goal is that I would really like to, I think for 1,000 yards at the range, I think it's going to be good. But I also go to a range that has a 1 mile target, and I'm really hoping to be able to take this out and shoot that at the 1 mile. So once I plug these numbers in and kind of give me an idea, I'm going to see if that's going to hold up or not. It might not. You know, I'm going to play around with some of my other powders that I've got here and plug those in just to see if I can get my speed up any. So if you have reloaded for a 284 Winchester, and you've got some powder choices, please share those. Let me know. I'd definitely give them a try. Like I said, I really would like to get this thing at a minimum of 2,800. But I just don't know with the powders that I have if that's going to be possible. So we will find out. So stay tuned, because we will be loading these rounds and going out to the range and shooting, and we will put the chronograph on it, and well, actually, we'll have radar on there. I've got a lab radar, so we will have that set up at the range, testing and seeing what velocities we're getting out of this. So, like I said, stay tuned, and we're going to see where this goes. Also, one thing that I did was I plugged in all of my data just based on my software outcome into my applied ballistics calculator and set up that profile. So what I'm looking at velocity wise for long range, getting out to 1 mile, my velocity at 1,750 yards would be roughly a little over 1,000 feet per second. So that's not ideal, because you really want to stay hopefully above, you want to stay supersonic, and you know, at I think 1,300 feet per second is where you kind of go into that transitional or transonic phase, to where your bullet can become unstable and really start to tumble and wobble through that process. So even at 2660, it's not going to be ideal for the long range out to 1 mile. I'm hoping that out to 1,000 at least, it will it'll do well and maybe stay supersonic, which would definitely make it a lot more stable for that shot. So we're going to try it out. We're going to see where we're at. Once we get to the range, we'll measure all of this, and then we'll be able to update our app and get some more accurate numbers. Right now, that's just based on the ballistics tables and the app doing the calculation on what it thinks the muzzle velocity is going to be. So, okay, so I'm waiting for my super trickler to warm up. I always give it about 30 minutes before I start running any powder through it. So we've got about another 15 minutes left on that. I'm going to start running through the brass. I've got all new Lapua 284 Winchester brass, and I'm going to run through all of the sizing on that and the neck sizing, and then from there we'll get it primed, and by the time we do all that, we'll be ready for powder. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm setting the neck tension on all of my brass. So I'm using the Imperial dry neck lube, and so I'm dipping that inside of there, and then I'm resizing the neck and putting 2/1000 neck tension on the bullet. So that's what I'm doing first, and then once I have all of this done, I will then prime all of the cases, and at that point we should be ready to add powder. All right, so I've got the necks resized. They're all set to 2/1000 neck tension. So I'm going to prime these. Now, I could have primed them on the press. It does have a priming device that you can put a primer in, and on the downstroke you can prime that. When I'm doing my rifle loads, I prefer just to use a hand primer. And so that's what I'm going to get set up next, is get my hand primer set up and prime them all at one time. That way I don't forget anything. That little noise is the super trickler telling me that it is warmed up and ready. Okay, so what I'm using is CCI Bench Rest 2 primers, large rifle for the 284. So I've got 50 of them on here, and okay, so all of them are set up on the right orientation. They're all the same, so I'm going to put them in my plate here, flip them over. Okay, now they're all set up in that orientation, and when I flip them over into my primer reloader, now they're all set up in the right orientation to be primed. For this, you just run a primer in, and then you hand prime that. I always give them a little twist and punch them again, just to make sure that it is seating the primer uniform all the way around, and seats it flush. So okay, so I just got through with all of the priming, and I'm ready now to start powder charging these. I'm going to be using the super trickler for this, so I'll show you how I set this up. One of the things I love about the super trickler is I can actually go in and tell it what I want my ladder to be, what starting grain I'm going to be at, and it will, and how many rounds is going to be in each node. So I can basically just start it, and then it'll keep track of the count per node, and I don't really have to worry about that. All I've got to do is whenever I load one, I write it on the case what that is with a Sharpie. That way I know what they are when I'm out at the range, and I'm not getting confused, or if something happens and they get mixed up, I can still figure out which ones go with what node. So so yeah, here we go. Let's get the charge done, and then we'll be ready to set up the seeding die and get all of them seeded, and then we'll be ready to head to the range. Okay, so hopefully you can see what I'm going through here. So this is the super trickler. It actually sits on top of an A&D FX120i scale. And so I bought this as a complete unit, the scale and the super trickler that sits on top. It was already calibrated together when I bought it. I think you can just buy the super trickler alone, and if you already have the scale, and then you just have to set up your calibration between the two. So with this, I'm going to go ahead and select my powder. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to choose Hodgdon, and I'm going to come down and choose my 4831 shortcut. I'm going to let the system do all of the calibration. So it may take a few throws for it to know, it kind of learns with its system. It learns the powder that's in there. It already has a profile built in. I can go in and change the bulk throw and the fine throw and all of that if I want to, but normally if I just let it do its thing, it does pretty well in adjusting what it needs to for that particular powder. So I'm going to go ahead and then close that. I've got my powder. Then I'm going to go into mode, and I'm going to select ladder. Okay, so let me count up how many steps we're going to have. So on 4831, we're going to start at 49, we're going to end at 52. So that's 16 different steps. So I'm going to plug in steps, and I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to put in 16 and hit OK. I'm going to have 3 rounds per step, so we're going to say OK to that. Step increase. So I'm going to do 2/10 of a grain. That's what's already in there. And then I'm going to start at 49 grains. So my starting charge, I'm going to delete that out, and I'm going to put in 49.0 and say OK. And then what it does is it already figured out that my ending charge is going to be at 52 grains. And so we are now ready to hit begin. And okay, so you hit ladder and then you hit start, and now it's going to start doing the countdown for each node. And it's tracking how much bulk and how much fine that it is having to adjust to get there. And it will make adjustments every time until it can produce a nice even throw. And that's the goal anyway. That's what it's trying to do. So that was 49. Okay, so now you see that it is going to 49.2. I messed up, and the first throw I did, I thought I had messed up, but it was actually the first round. So I will come back and throw another 49 at the end of the ladder. So I'm now at the 49.2. It shows 49.18. And that's due to a setting that I have in there. I'm good at plus or minus 2/100ths of within the target. So so that's why you might see it throw a 0.18 or a 0.22. But that's just due to my setup. So up here at the top, it's actually telling me what step I'm on. So I'm on step 2, round 3. Now I could actually, right now, I'm just trying to find a good node to work from. So I'm not crazy, accurate with this. As long as I can get a good node to start, I'm going to come back and work within that node. And that's when I will get even more accurate. And I can change this to where I want it to throw the exact charge. So I can take out all play in that. And if I say I want 49.8, it's going to give me 49.8. If not, it'll discard and just keep going. So now that one that just got discarded, it knew it and it didn't count it against the ladder. So so now I'm at 49.4. And also down here, it'll tell you what its success rate is. It's tracking that. So right now it is throwing an 80%, and it just went up with that throw to 81.8%. And if you really wanted to dive into this, you can get into the settings for this particular profile, and you can tell it how many seconds you want the bulk, and the fine to throw. If you want to adjust it yourself. I just find that if I let it do its thing, it works pretty good for me. I don't really, I don't get in and adjust those settings. Okay, so I'm going to shut it off here. I'm going to go ahead and let it finish up its ladder. Okay, so I completed the ladder. I've still got to go back and do my one round that did not, that I had messed up and skipped over. So I got to do another one at 49 grains. But overall, it had an 87.2% accuracy on the throws and made it all the way through the ladder. So now I'll go back and finish up that one round at 49 grains, and then I'll be ready to actually start doing the seeding process and finishing this batch up. Okay, so I've got my seeding die set. I already seeded a few for the first step of the ladder, and so now I'm just going to finish setting the rest of them and just running that in the caliper and I'll just check them just to make sure everything's still staying the same. And we're running right at 3.300 inches on the overall length. Okay, so that is 50 rounds of 284 Winchester. That's a 16-step ladder along with 2 warm-up rounds at the 49 grains. Okay, so we've got the 50 rounds loaded. Next thing, we got to get to the range and test these out. But that's going to have to wait till next week's video because I've got some icy weather coming in, and so I really don't want to head to the range and try to shoot all of that while that's going on. So I'm going to wait for the weather to warm up, and then we'll pick a day when it's good to head to the range and test this ladder out, and hopefully we find us a good node to work from, and then we'll be back working up some more test rounds to fine-tune that. So I'm excited about this. Hopefully I get a good round. I did rework a few numbers and look at the velocities out to 1,000 yards, and I'm still like 1,500 feet at 1,000. So don't know, like I said, that this is going to make a mile-long shot, but at 1,000 I think I'll be really good. So I hope you're enjoying the content. Please, if you are, like and subscribe to the channel. That just helps YouTube and their analytics. I'm still trying to figure all of this stuff out, but seems like some videos do really well, some don't, but I think a lot of it is just due to YouTube's analytics and how they publish my content out or send that out to people. So if you're interested in following me or you like the content that I'm putting out there, please like and subscribe to the channel. That way you'll get notified, because I'm still learning through a lot of this process, you know, on what to post and when to post, and I'm trying to post regularly again, and hopefully that will get my content out there a little bit more. So hopefully next week I will be able to get to the range and we'll video that. I'm probably going to be also working on our trip for 2026, heading to the Northeast. And so more to come on that as well, along with our projects for the truck, doing the DC to DC install and getting the brakes done. So all things that are coming. So thanks for joining in, and we'll see you next week.